Hey guys, it's Calvin Tahan. I know I haven't made a video in a long time, and so I decided to go play some Yu-Gi-Oh! And make one and tell you guys how I did. I went to Philly Regionals, was last night actually. It was crazy. It was really, really awesome. Like 800 people. It was pretty much a YCS. I've played YCSs that were smaller than this regional. There were 10 rounds, and you know these weren't just like local players. Like I came from Virginia. That's about a 3 hour, 4 hour drive for me. People came from like tech. There's Billy Brake. I don't even know why he was there, but he was there. Alistair Albums was there. Fraser Smith was judging. So a lot of like pros showed up randomly. So it made it a really cool event. It added like a level of legitimacy to it, I think, and it just became a lot of fun. I just went with people from my state, and we just, we went in and just terrorized top tables. I didn't top. A friend of mine did. He topped with Chaos Dragons, and I'll probably get his deck profiled on here a little later. His name is Alfonso Yamakawa. Some of you may know him by name. He's like an old school pro. He played back in the day, and he recently came back to the game this year, and he's already top 2 regionals. And by this year, I mean last year. He came back like summer of last year, so he came. Well, anyway, enough about him. I ran windups. I went 8-2 out of 10 rounds. I got like I think 16th. No, 15th. I got 18th place, I think. So were this a YCS, 8-2, easily a record that would have topped. This deck is competitive, and that's why I'm here to show it to you. I'm here to show you a competitive windup deck that is not, cookie cutter standard windups. This is a deck I ran, I created, I innovated. It's full of Calvin Tahan techs and Calvin Tahan theory. So if you want to get into my mind, looking at this deck and how ridiculous and how horrible it is, because it's so poorly constructed, but it just does so much work. You'll see how much you can do with so little. You don't need to run the same decks that everybody else runs. You can take your own thing and savage people with it. So let's go into my deck. Okay, monsters. I don't know how many there are, but let's go through them. Okay, so we have Wind Up Magicians. We run 3 of those. 3 Magicians, because it's a good card. I like opening Magician Shark. I also like opening Magician Rabbit. I just like the versatility of Magician. It's a good card. 3 Sharks. It's a good card. Yeah, there's that. 3 Rabbits. I used to, when I first started running this deck, I used to not like Rabbit. I used to think that it was just really bad. It was always cloggy. And that was true because where I played it was all I had to play this deck at. I never played it at an event, was locals. And my locals is like sacky as hell. So there's like tons of Dark World running around, tons of like Hero OTK running, like terrible players play at my locals. It has some good players too, obviously, as every locals does, I would imagine. Not every locals, but some of them. And so I wasn't really getting the proper kind of testing. I actually made this deck on Dueling Network. I started testing it. I'm like 1,500 plus rating on DN, which isn't, I'm not bragging or anything because DN is just a website. But that is like one of the top 200 players on the site. So I play with like players like Simon He all the time, players that are ranked up there. And so after getting some competitive duels in, I realized how good Rabbit was. So I was thinking about running 1 when I built the deck, but then I saw how sick it was and just how many duels you could win on your own. Literally with Wind Up Rabbit being the only card you summon the entire duel and you just win. That was incredible. So this card is really good. This card, however, Wind Up Rat, is not very good. I ran 1 of him, and everybody's going to be absolutely angry at me. Every person I've talked to, Tyree Tinsley, Garen Williams, friends of mine, close friends of mine who've run windups and topped events with windups, Thomas Vo, all of them think I'm a complete idiot for wanting to run Rat. But I really just hate opening it. I hate drawing this card. I feel like it's Blizzard in Black Wings, but worse, because Blizzard's actually cool. This card's just terrible. It's a dead draw. If you open like 2 Rats, you've lost the duel. So I run 1 Rat. It's there for the Magician Shark loop. Like, you go into Rat, and then you go into like Zen Mighty, and you do your stuff. Oh, that's all cool and stuff. It's there for like a late game top deck, but the idea is that I don't want to open this card because it's not very good. So yeah, 1 Rat. That's that. That's my choice. Those are the wind-up monsters I run. 10 wind-ups. And here's the rest of the deck. 3 Thunder King. This card is like the best card in the deck. It's so good. If I could run any deck in the format right now, literally any deck, I would run 3 Thunder Kings in it. I would run, if I saw it fit to run Dark World, which I don't right now. I retired the deck because water is too good. And people are like maining macro now because of water, and water beats Dark World just because even with Mulan Glacier, you just don't use the effect. You just go off and just like kill Dark World before it can do anything. It's a stupid deck. Plays around skill drain like there is no other. So water's stupid, so I'm not running Dark World right now. But even if I did, I'd run 3 Thunder Kings in Dark World because this card is absolutely incredible. There's no matchup except maybe in Sectors, I think, where this card is actually bad. It's just so good. As I said, I won duels with Rabbit alone. You also win duels with Thunder King alone. It's literally just like broken. Tour Guide. I run 2 of them. If I could run more, I probably would, but I can't run more. It's a good card. It's not as good as it used to be, and that's not even because it's at like 2 instead of 3. It's just the momentum and what you can do with Tour Guide. Like, it's just acceptable now that you could with 1 summon or 1 card, Undyne or like stuff like Magician Shark, just like very small card combos, you can make a ridiculous field. So when Tour Guide came out, the fact that you could overlay into Leviathan, which was a 2000 beater, 2500, that was ridiculous. The fact that you can normal summon a 2500 monster was broken. Times are different now. Tour Guide's still good, don't get me wrong, you could fit it into almost every deck. It has so much versatility with the number of XYZs you can go into. Card's ridiculously broken, but it's not as good as it used to be. So you have to be careful when you use it, I don't know. It's interesting. It's a good card. Sangan, I wasn't running this for until the day of the event. I literally was running 2 Tour Guides, no Sangan, no Night Assailant, nothing. I just hated drawing this card. I still do. I hate Sangan so much. It's just ridiculous. If you draw it, it literally means all you can do for a turn is like set it and wait, or like your best play is like set Sangan Torrential. Like, it's horrible. This card is absolutely bad. And yeah, I know it can search all these monsters. It can search all of my guys except Thunder King. But it's bad. I don't like it. The only reason I ran it was because I saw, and I talked to all my friends, and I saw how many people were mainly like even triple max C, and so I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna summon Tour Guide and they're gonna max C me, and my only play is gonna be summon another Tour Guide in defense and end, like that's gonna be really bad. That's gonna be sheer terror. So I decided just to put in the Sangan, just in the event that happened. I could, if I summon Tour Guide, they max C, I would put Sangan in defense and end. It'd be better than not. So. And I would just have to deal with all the times that I drew it. And I lost so many duels because I drew Sangan. The card's so bad, but I decided to run it. Here's my last monster, though. This card's absolutely incredible. If you can't see that, it's Gale. Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. This card is nuts. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of words to say for this card. All I wanted was a trolley card. I was looking at like Spear Reapers and stuff, Snowman, and they're all great cards in windups. I'm siding Snowman, you'll see. I'm not siding Reaper, I'm siding other cards. Reaper's like my favorite card in the game, but I just thought that the momentum that Water has, I was really scared of it. I'm just scared of setting monsters in general, so I didn't want to run a lot of flip effects or slower stuff because I just didn't want to get raped by Water or like Dark World or something. So I didn't run any flip effects on my main deck. I put in Gale. He's there to like absolutely terrorize Laggy, which despite Water and how broken it is, it's easily the best deck. I knew it would be the best deck at the top tables. Like, I knew it would be the deck to beat of the event, and I was right. But the deck to beat in terms of like winning the event, and the deck to beat in terms of like topping the event are different decks. And the deck to beat at lower tables, like when you're like, before round 7 is Rabbit. And I was right. I played like 10 Rabbit. I mean, I didn't play 10 Rabbit because there were 10 rounds. I played other decks, but I played a lot of Rabbit. I played like 4 Rabbit. This card's amazing against them. Gets over Thunder King, gets over Sabersaurus, has Logia, makes it negate, whatever. So nothing this card doesn't get around. It's a 3-star. It goes to windups really well. If you have like a Rabbit coming back, you put a Gale on board, you can overlay, which I would never do because I'd rather just have the 2 of those guys than one of the other guy. But every now and then, like, if you have to, you can make that play. So that's really cool. Gale's good, and that's my monster lineup. I didn't count how many it was. Let's see, 3 Thunder King, 10 windups, Tour Guide. It's like 14, it's 15 monsters, I think. Okay, moving on. Spells. I played 2 Duality. I like the card. I like it in a lot of decks. I like it in this deck a lot. I like going like summoning Rabbit to summoning Thunder King, playing Duality. Well, obviously not in that order. You would play Duality first, then summon Thunder King. Unless you're really pro like I am. And then, yeah, Duality is good. It helps you dig for outs. It helps you make plays. I side them out a lot. I also keep them in a lot because I like drawing my sides with them. It's just a cool card. I don't know. It's cuttable. I don't know like what you would replace it with. My issue was that like I wasn't running hand traps, and I'm not. My main deck, I don't run any hand traps, or in my side deck, I don't run any hand traps. No gores, no nothing. I just think they're interesting in some decks right now. I'm not going to say they're bad, but I chose not to run them, and I think that was a very successful decision on my part. So I didn't know what to put in, honestly. And that's why Gale was in there, too, because I just, like, needed trolley cards. I was like, well, I'm not running Maxi, I'm not running Veiler, I'm not running Gores. Like, what am I going to put in? So I put in Gale, and I was like, what else? And I was like, oh, Duality. It was originally going to be Upstarts. I was originally running 3 Upstarts, and that was testing well, too. Upstarts and Windups is surprisingly good, because it just, like, increases the amount that you open Magician Shark. But I decided against that. I just put in 2 Dualities. That may or may not change, but they're there for now. Triple MST. This, I think, was the toughest decision of the event for me was to whether or not run 3. There are sometimes, testing on DN, and even at locals, I would just want to run 0 because all I played was Agents and Chaos Dragons or like Mermail. And this is okay against Mermail, you just have to be smart with it, but it's just so dead against the other matchups. In the end, though, I decided that Macro Rabbit was a real deck, and Windups, the Mirror Match is a real deck, and Sectors is a real deck, Heroes is a real deck. I don't know, there are a lot of real decks right now. So I decided to keep them in. I think that was good. Every matchup that I came across where I would have to side them out, I wouldn't, because you couldn't really. Like against Chaos Dragons, for example, you can't really side out MSTs. I would take out like 1 MST, maybe 2, but if I'm feeling like extreme, like if I crush game 1, I would take out 2, just because I had the luxury of losing game 2. I could go to game 3 if I make a mistake. But normally you have to keep some of them in, even against Chaos Dragons, because they will side like Messenger Piece against you, or like Gozen Match or something stupid. So you have to keep those in. Heavy Storm. You could take that out against those matchups, so you almost always take Storm out against like Dragons or Agents, but you keep an MST. But in the main board, these 4 cards, they're pretty good. They allow for offensive pushes. If you make the lot read, like the right reads, and I made so many like reads, I just had to like sit and think, like what could they have set? Like, first turn, I summoned Thunder King into like Warning. They had 2 back row, and I was sitting like with Monster Reborn. I was like, what's the other back row? And it's just, I don't know, stuff like that. If you have an MST, like I had an MST right there, and I could have used it and then reborn my Thunder King and pushed over Sangan, which was their monster, but I didn't, because I read it as an MST. I was like, oh, they either set Warning heavy or they set Warning MST. Like they wouldn't set 2 warnings, and if they set Prison, I would just accept that. Trading Reborn for a Prison and a Thunder King for a Warning, I'm still up, and I would hold my MST till later. And I was right, it was an MST. So if I had wasted MST there, I wouldn't have it for later. Their MST was dead because I ended up setting like a duality or something that I wanted them to MST. So it's just about making right reads. This card's good. You just have to know how to use it. It's a power card. It's not just a card to toss around 1-for-1 with. You use it when you want to make like aggressive pushes, or when you want to stabilize the game state. Make each players have like 5 cards instead of 6 cards, which is bad. You don't want to do that early. But when it's down to like 3 cards, if you have like Thunder King, 1 back row, and an MST, and they have like a monster, a back row, and another back row, you can MST one of the back rows, because that just makes the game state so much simpler. But early game, this card is not just to be used recklessly. It's a power card. Anyway, that's my little spree about MST. Oh yeah, I'm also running Storm, as you saw. Dark Hole. Soul Taker. This card's good. I main 1. It's good. Gets over Thunder King, which is a problem. I ran 3s. A lot of other people are probably going to run 3. I was right. Helps Laggy and Negate. Gets over Sabersaurus, which is good. You can like summon Wind Up Rabbit, they're like, okay. And then you go like Soul Taker on Sabersaurus, and they're like, oh, okay. And you're like, attack, and it's good. So that's fine. Mind Control. This card's a game winner. I would run Mind Control in every deck. Any deck I play, ever, even Dark World, I would run Mind Control. The card's too good. Monster Reborn. Great card. It's pretty good. I'd run 3 of it. Actually, if Monster Reborn were at 3, I'm not sure if I would run 3. In windups, you probably would, just because Magician Shark is nutty, but I feel like there's some decks that would just run 2. Just because, like, if you open 3 Reborn, like, how are you going to win? But, anyway, it's a good card at 1. So that's the spells. There were, like, some of them. I don't know, 7 or something. Traps. I definitely run, like, 15 traps or something. I run, like, a lot of traps. You're about to see. Okay. Compulse. I run 2. It's a good card. Swedish Chain, I run 2. I was scared of Insector. Didn't play any, but I was still scared of them. Deep Prison, I play 2. It's great against Rabbit. It's great against a lot of decks. It's almost dead against no decks. Torrential, I play 2. Bottomless, I play 2. Solemn Warning, I play 2. And Solemn Judgment, I play 1. I would play 2 if I could. I wouldn't play 3, I'd play 2. And the reasoning there is 2 everything. I like all these cards. They're all really good. I don't think I could cut any one of them. I wouldn't like cut a Phoenix Chain for a 3rd prison. I wouldn't cut like 2 chains for like, I don't know, like 2 Mirror Forces or something. I wouldn't do that. All these cards are really good, and I like drawing them all equally. So if you run 2 of everything, you're bound to get a good variety. And that's the theory to that there. All these cards have their place in the deck. They're just all really powerful. And so that's the main deck. It's 40 cards. Gale's the MVP. Something I will note, in the spells, there's no Pot of Avarice. There are also no Factories. I don't like either of those cards. Factory's a dead draw late game. Early game, it's unnecessary. You can win without it. Avarice is dead a lot of the time. Sometimes it wins the duel for you. Sometimes it's just a dead draw that you have to like struggle to make live, and it'll be live at some point, but like it's not always immediately live, and I don't like that about it. I like cards that I can use and have access to right now. So in the deck like windups, I don't like Avarice. I don't. So I don't run Avarice. I don't run Factory. I run Gale, and I want to run Rat. and I don't run hand traps. So this is pretty interesting, as you see. And again, this deck went 8-2. I won round 1, lost round 2 to Mermail, which was a very close match. He had like 500 life points. I made a misplay. He made a really good play with Black Rose, like really sick. He summoned Undyne. No, I'm sorry. He summoned Controller, attacked into my Magician, which was in defense mode. He took 400, went Dragodia, copied Dragoon's Engrave, went Black Rose. And then he had like 1 card left in hand, and I had no cards in hand. And he just won like 2 turns later. It was a really good duel. And I probably could have like played it differently and avoided that, but it was a sick play on his part, so he deserved the win. So I lost to Mermail, and I lost to a wind-up match, mirror match to wind-ups. I also beat 2 wind-ups, though, so I'm not really too concerned about the mirror match. You running no factories and them running factory is definitely a disadvantage, and a lot of them are maining hand traps, and I'm maining none. I'm also siding none. That's also a disadvantage, but I would still say the mirror match just comes down to who's the better player outside of opening nuts. I'd rather not play the mirror match for windups. Like I think I have like maybe like a 65-35 win rate against it. Like even though I went 2-1 against it, I beat 2 of them, lost to 1. I still think it's a bad matchup, and I'd like to avoid it if I could, but I think that this version of windups competes against other decks better than the standard version. So that's the main deck. We're going to go into the side and extra because that's where all the cool stuff is. Let's go to the side deck first. Triple Banisher. Triple Banisher of the Radiance. Normally, I am an advocate of not running 3 of anything in your side deck. I'd rather go like 2-2-2-2-2-2-2 and just have more choices than 3-3-3-3-3. You have like way less choices. If you run 3 of anything, if you run 3 of everything, you're siding like what, like 5 cards total or something? Yeah, 5 cards. You have like 3 Banisher, 3 this, 3 that, 3 that. You have 5. If you run 2 of everything, you have 7, and then one copy of an 8th, or a 3rd copy of the 7th, and that's usually a lot better. But I thought this card was too good. It has too many matchups where it's too good, and it has, of those matchups, one of them you pretty much auto win. If you summon this card against Mermail, you just win, and you can protect it. The game's over. This card's too good, so I ran 3 of it. Snowman Eater. It's my favorite card in the game. Yeah, I have 100 of them. So I ran 3. It's pretty good. Like against, I'll tell you how I sided, I guess, after I'll show you. But I'll explain how good Snowman Eater was after I show you the rest of the side. 2 Jellin Duo. I ran 2. I didn't want to run. I'll talk about this card now, I guess. I didn't want to run Reaper because Lance isn't out to it. A lot of decks are running 3 of those. Like Dino Rabbit is a deck that I would like to side Reaper against, but you know, it's a deck Jellin Duo is notorious for. Like Jellin Duo even became a card. Like people are talking about this card and we're running this card because of Rabbit. It was grayed out to them before Pebble Operative existed. And so like I think this card does better than it against Reaper. And although I like the versatility of Reaper, I like that it's a 3-star. I like that it can poke and make aggressive pushes and win duels. I don't like how easily it's destroyed. A thing about Jellin Duo that I do like is that it's a 4-star. It has a lot of high attacks, so it can crash with Guaiva or Cabazools if it needs to. It can get over like Fossil Diamonds and stuff. It can make pushes like those. And I love the fact that it's a 4-star because Cowboy's a real card. And if you get late game, if you have like a Messenger up and a Jellin Duo up for like turn after turn, they can get around either of them. And you just like, time is called, you summon a Shark and go Cowboy, it's over. That's kind of cheap way to win, but it's part of the game. I never won a game like that, but I like that the options are there. Because Cowboy's a real card right now, and I think every deck has to run it. It's similar to Android. You know, you go into Android in time, back in the day, and you'd win just by getting 6 and ending your turn. This is the same thing. Cowboy's the same but different. Jellin Duo is broken, just because of the pushes you can make with it. It's an aggressive card, more so than Reaper, I think. And it survives a hell of a lot longer. So it's better in both respects. Okay, 3-dimensional Fissure. I ran 3 for the same reason that I ran 3 Banisher. You just have to draw them. Why? Like, it's just good. You just auto-win if you do. It's great. 2 Messenger apiece. 2's good. I want to run 3 because it's too cloggy. 2, you draw it enough. It's not even a card you have to draw. Like, you don't lose the duel if you don't draw your Messenger, as opposed to, like, Deep Fissure, where you lose the duel if you don't draw it against, like, certain decks. It's just a good card to have. Wins a lot of duels. People can't get around it if they're stupid with their MSTs early game. 2 Dust Tornadoes. I don't know if I like these more than Decrees, because I've never ran this card before. I've always run 2 Decree. Back in Fish OTK format, which I, topped my first event with, I ran Malevolent Catastrophe. That was because Heavy Storm wasn't a real card back then, so Starlight Road wasn't a real card back then, so nobody, like, everyone would just set 4, because, like, the worst you could do to them was True Nade, and so you just True Nade, they just keep their 4, so why not set 4? And Catastrophe would just, like, win a ridiculous amount of games, but, so I always ran that card over Dust. Right now I'm running Dust. I like picking and choosing, I think. I don't know if this is better than Decree, but because I run so many traps, I run like 15, I don't think I could support Decree. Like, Decree, the only matchup I would put Decree in against was like Chainburn or like maybe Rabbit, but even then I'd prefer Dust Tornado. Chainburn I definitely prefer Decree, but I didn't label that as a real deck right now, and even if it was, I'm running Shockmaster, so I think I'm okay. So yeah, Dust Tornado is good. I'm honestly not even sure if it's necessary though. I feel like I could cut it entirely and still like not miss it. So that's the only card I was worried about. I'd like to talk about my side. I run a transitional side, sorta. It's trolly to look at. Like, you're like, how is this transitional side? But I'm gonna go back to my main deck real quick and pick out a few cards, with the exception of Wind Up Rabbit. Wind Up Rabbit's good. If you look at Wind Up Rabbit and Thunder King, just look at those cards together and how powerful they are, and how much you can win the duel. Now look at these 7 cards. We have Wind Up Rat at 1, 3 Magician, 3 Shark. That's 7 cards. Triple Snowman Eater, Double Joan Duo, that's 5, and then 2 Messenger Piece. That's 7. So I often, against heroes, and mainly against Dino Rabbit, I'm undefeated against Dino Rabbit. I can never even come close to losing. Side these 7 out, put these 7 in. The reason I wanna, I kind of want to cut this card and make a Cyber Dragon. Because Cyber Dragon also does what these cards do, and that's play the grind game. They're going to have hand traps in, almost always. They're going to have hand traps. They're going to put in like 2 Maxi, they're going to be already maining 2 Valor or siding 2 Valor because they're running Macro Rabbit or something. So they're going to have dead cards. You're going to have cards that are ridiculously live against your matchup, and you just win with. You set Snowman, get over Sabersaurus, summon Rabbit, swing, and you just win. It's just really, really good. If you play the 1-for-1 game as good as I do with your D Prisons and your trap cards, you support them with monsters like these that can, you know, you can be down 3 cards somehow because if they can open Rabbit, Tour Guide, you can still win if you have Joan Duo and Protection for the Paparal Operative. You just win. It's broken. It's really broken, especially when they're sitting there with like 2 hand traps. I played 3 Rabbits, and all of them that I beat at the end of the duel, they just like concede the offer of the handshake because I'm beating in the face of the Joan Duo, and they're just setting Maxis and setting Valors because they can't do anything. And then I'm like, yeah, dude, my Maxi was dead all game. And I showed them my side deck, and I'm just like, yeah, I know. So it's just really cool. So that's somewhat of a transitional side. And I would probably, I'm not sure because I'd have to do more research, but I might look into cutting this card and putting Cyber Dragon in. It would also mean that I have to put Chimera Tech in my extra deck, though, just because I'd be obligated to. So let's go over my extra deck now and see if we can help me find room for that, because I can't really find room for it right now. This extra deck for windups is mostly standard, but not completely. Zen Mighty is a good card. Zenmans is a good card. Team Tempo is a good card, but not as good as like I need it to be. I'm gonna put this in like this pile here because it's decent. Levier, great card. Giga Brilliant, it's gonna go in this pile. Decent. Acid Golem, amazing card. Those are my 3 stars. There's no Leviathan, as you noticed, because if you look at these two, this is 21. It makes your other monster stronger too. It has defense. This is 3,000. Which one of these, like, both of these cards are going to get over anything you're going to go into Leviathan to get over. Leviathan is just really bad, and it can get Book of Moon, and I mean, all these can get Book of Moon, but, like, Leviathan in particular is just, like, a card I'm not very fond of. So it's easily the most cuttable of these 3. This is, like, you can OTK with this, you can boost your other guys, make them stronger, so this is there for that. This, if you had to get over, like, a Sabersaurus or something, you desperately have to get over something, and you know for a fact, well, you don't know, because you can never know, but, like, you think they have Lance, you go into this, because Lance doesn't do anything. He puts him at 22, he still wins. And it's just a really, really buff monster. Like, going to the early game, it's such a problem card for them. Yeah, you take 2,000 every turn, but they're taking 3,000 every turn. You're winning that trade. So both of these are better than Leviathan. I don't think there's any deck in the game right now, with the exception of Chaos Dragon, that should ever run Leviathan Dragon over this card. This card's too good. And if you're losing to it, if you're burning yourself, you're an idiot. Like, you just deserved, like, don't play. Because use this card properly, you'll win. Watch out for this card, because yeah, it can mess with you. It can mess you up. But it's not, you know, It's one thing. You should have the out for it before you go into this card. So those are the 3 stars. 4 stars. Abyss Dweller. I would never cut this card. It's amazing. The things it does to Sangan, the things it does to Mermail, the things it does to Dark World, too good. Like, the things it does to Mystic Tomato, absolutely ridiculous. Abyss Dweller, my friends. Game-winning card. Utopia is a good card. I could see myself cutting it, but I also I go into it a lot. I feel like of any wind-up player at the event, I went into this card way more than a lot of them did. And that's because some of them don't run it. I know, but some of them do and went into other things. This card's good. 25 attack is a lot right now. And if you're protecting like a Banisher Game 2 or even a Thunder King, you're protecting that, you're going to win the duel because of it. This card, though, I'd say is the 4-star going to the most, with the exception of Papal Operative. But that's because of Magician Shark. My Stroke's just good. I go into like My Stroke, Tiras all the time, and like maybe as Zenmains, your field's broken. Like, you're not going to lose. This card's just the safest card in the game. It's broken. I don't even know why they made it. And especially don't know why they made it in a structure deck and like $10. Card's too good. Cowboy, really good card. I think I used it once the entire event, but it's still good. Just the access to it, the option to have a card that's a 4-star that can actually crash into BLS, get rid of it. No other 4-star can do that. This card's defense effect, burns for 800, that's broken. I don't know why they made something as busted as Cowboy, but he's too good. Gaga Gunman, just way too strong. Photon Pop, Butterfly's good. Mostly used in the Shockmaster loop, but he's also just like good. Good card, I would never cut it. Shockmaster, pretty good card, I'd never cut it. I'd never run 2. Some people are running 2. I was like, what? That's generous. Like, you're feeling really zealous if you think you can go into 2 Shockmasters. And I mean, sometimes I could have. Like, yeah, there are opportunities where you can go into 2, but just, you would never have to. So 1's fine. Tiras and Adrius. These are my 5s. I saw myself cutting Adrius a while ago to find room for Black Ship. There were a lot of cards that I could have cut for Black Ship. At the end of the day, I couldn't get Black Ship at the Corn. I ran this event without it. And during the event, I didn't like particularly miss it. I was like, there was never a moment where it was like, oh, if I had Black Ship, it would have been game. Because I've already trained myself to play around Zen Maidens and cards like that. Like, I could already beat it. I ran Duke and Pulse and stuff. So I never missed the card. I still would like it as an option, similar to Cowboy. Like, I didn't go into it that often, but I imagine just having the option of it would be nice. So, but even so, I couldn't get myself to cut Adrius, because the option of that's too good, too. It gets over Messenger of Peace. It gets over a lot of things. Sometimes you have to kill your monster first before attacking, because like they have a problem card or something, like a Utopia or something. Tiras can get over that. Tiras is good too, though. Tiras is easily the one I went into the most. I probably made Tiras like 8 times. I probably made Adrius like twice. But both of them are pretty good. And then my last card, which, as I said, I was already making room for Black Ship. I couldn't get one. And also to point out, there are like every wind-up deck I faced main Starlight Road. It was so weird. I always got Starlight Roaded against the mirror match, and they always had a Stardust. So I was like, oh, I guess that's pretty good. But so the fact that they can find room for a Stardust meant I could find room for this card. Blackwing Armor Master. Round 9 against Samurais. I summoned Gale, which in itself was ridiculous, because this was game 1. The look on his face was priceless, because he had a Sheehan on the field. He's like, is that Gale? He reached over and read it, because he couldn't, obviously he knew what Gale was. This was anyway, but he was just so blown, because, Sheehan's 25 attack, Gale would put it at 1250, and Gale would get over it. So he was like, holy crap, is that a Gale? So he Phoenix changed it. I flip summoned my Magician, and I Synchro into Armor Master. Crash into Sheehan, game's over like a turn later. This card is nuts. Cards that can't be destroyed by battle, I know are somewhat of a joke, especially early game. They're like, oh, just Deep Prisoner, Compulsor, like, anything, Torrential, or like Adrius it, or like Zenmains it, or like a lot of things can kill it. I'm aware of that. But late game, when only top decks are like Monster Reborn or something, this card's not gonna die. Like, this is a problematic card. Like, it's good. It's so good. Even you just summon in defense mode. You just go Armor Master in defense. I mean, you put him in attack, I guess, anyway, because you can't take battle damage, so that's stupid to say. But he's just not gonna die. Like, he's so good. Running Armor Master and terrorizing kids with Gale the entire event. Like, I had Gel and Duel with Gale, like, so many game 2s. It was ridiculous. Card's too good. So that's my deck. That's my wind-up deck. It's a pile of rubbish, but it's pretty cool. I know this video is way longer than I need it to be. Like, I don't even know how long. It's probably been like 30 minutes. But yeah. So this Count Tahan, as I said, I went 8-2 at YCS. At Philly Regionals. Seemed like a YCS because there are 800 players, 10 rounds. So this is a competitive deck. It went 8-2. Only losses were to Wind Up and Mermail. It's just amazing. If you play well and if you build well, you can win with non-cookie cutter decks. So just a person, I wouldn't say a friend of mine. We know each other, but we're not close like that. A person I look up to, that I've learned a lot from, both good and bad things I've learned. Roy Sinclair. Some of you might know his name, some of you might not. He's gotten second place at like over 10 YCSs or Shonen Jumps. He's never won, but he's just always been right up there. And he's been out of the game for I think like close to 2 years, 3 years now, because he's banned for like something. It's irrelevant what he's banned for. What matters is that he's a good player, and he's had a lot of success in this game. And he's getting ready to come back to that game because his ban's being lifted. And so he's been making a lot of Facebook posts and just a lot of conversation. And something he said the other day, that this is Roy Sinclair, that rang really true to me, just like particularly true, was that he said he got good at this game by running decks and running cards that other people don't run. Teching things out, having your own personal tech, and mine was Gale. Gale, no duality, no factory, one rat. I just did so much work that event. And his reasoning was because if you run a cookie cutter deck, like if you just run the same rabbit deck that everyone's running, or the same wind up deck that everyone's running, the same mermail deck everyone's running, card for card, what happens is that although the deck's been proven to be a successful deck, the deck wins for a reason. Back in Tengu plant format, Billy Break plants, card for card, 40 out of 40 cards would all be the same. 17 monsters, 7 traps, all the same thing. No variation at all. In the top 16, 15 of the decks was the exact same thing, card for card. That was just the most disgusting format I've ever seen, because I've never seen a deck-dominated format as much as that did. The exact deck, no text at all. It was disgusting. But it's broken, and that's the reason. But outside of broken decks like those, if you run a cookie cutter deck, what you're basically saying is that if you come against a mirror match, if you play like a rabbit mirror match with you're running rabbit, standard rabbit, they're running standard rabbit, all you're really seeing is who can draw better. And that's not a good way to play the game. You're seeing who's luckier. Assuming that both players are top tier players, they're not going to make any misplays or anything, they're not going to do anything stupid. All it comes down to with that game is who draws better. And I wouldn't risk my chance at an event on who draws better or who's luckier, like, for the life of me. I'd rather outplay my opponent. And you can do that by running a deck you're guaranteed not to have a mirror match in. Or like I played 3 windups yesterday, but none of them were mirror matches at all. It was a completely different deck. It was my trolley deck versus their windups. And I was able to play the matchup the way I wanted to. I knew all my cards, and in turn I knew all their cards, because they're running cookie cutter deck. I'm not. They don't know all my cards. I know all their cards. They didn't know I was running Gale until it was too late. So stuff like that, it's really important. So just take his advice, take Roy's advice, take my advice. Don't run the same deck that everybody else is running. Run something different. So this is my different wind-up deck. Went 8-2 at Philly Regionals. Thanks for watching. Calvin Tahan here. Until next time.